So we are deeply alarmed by the involvement of the National Intelligence Service, NIS, and the Chief of Defense Forces, CDF, in responding to the Ruto Must Go campaign, as evidenced by their public statements during a lecture at the National Intelligence and Research University on March 27, 2025. This direct engagement in a politically charged matter violates the Constitution and the laws governing security agencies, which mandate them to remain neutral and apolitical. Across Africa, history warns us of the perils when security organs entangle themselves in politics. The Constitution of Kenya 2010 and Article 239, Clause 3, explicitly states, and I quote, "A national security organ shall not, in performing its functions, A, act in a partisan manner, B, further any interest of a political party or cause, or C, prejudice a political interest or a political cause that is legitimate under this Constitution." The NIS and the CDF's public remarks at the lecture, framing the Ruto Must Go campaign as a threat, breach this obligation, compromising their independence. The Constitution has set very clear boundaries that must not be breached by the security forces. The KDF are established under Article 241, Clause 2, Paragraph A, which mandates them to defend and protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic. Nowhere does the Constitution authorize the KDF to engage in domestic political affairs. The KDF Act under Section 8, Clause 2 states, and I quote, "The defense forces shall perform their functions and exercise their powers in accordance with the Constitution and the law. Interference in political matters, as voiced at the National Intelligence and Research University lecture, contradicts both the KDF Act and the Constitution. Hence, we demand the following urgent actions. 1. Immediate cessation of any engagement by security agencies in political affairs. 2. A public statement from the NIS Director General and the Chief of Defense Forces clarifying their role and reaffirming their commitment to constitutional neutrality. 3. Parliamentary oversight investigations into the alleged misuse of state security agencies for political purposes to commence immediately. 4. Legal accountability for any officials found in breach of the Constitution and relevant laws. Kenya is a democratic nation governed by the rule of law. We will not allow security institutions to be weaponized for political suppression, as seen in continental examples where military overreach, whether in coups or subtle political meddling, has led to repression, economic ruin, and prolonged unrest. In fact, what these two gentlemen did is to start a creeping coup, and they should be handled for treason. They have initiated a creeping coup on the Republic of Kenya, on the Constitution of Kenya, on the constitutional dispensation of this country, which allows political discourse, provided it's non-violent. The various articles of the Constitution are very clear on political rights, are very clear on the rights to assembly, they are very clear on the rights to free expression. So we cannot have a government that we cannot criticize or we cannot call to order. The Ruto Must Go mantra is one that cannot be silenced by the threat of guns. So we urge all citizens to remain vigilant in defending our constitutional rights and our democratic freedoms, and to reject this creeping coup that has been unleashed upon us by the Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces and the Director General of the NIS. If they insist that they don't want to hear Ruto must go, then we can as well say OMTATAH must come. If that's what they want, you can declare OMTATAH must come as the chant, and we stop saying Ruto must go. So they have no option but just to stay in the barracks and to do their work. If they want to become involved and entangled in civilian affairs, they resign their command and come out as civilians, and we shall engage. But to hide behind a uniform, to hide behind an institution, and reach out to engage in political affairs is not open to them. And if anything, if they are gentlemen, they should resign and vacate office for more able leaders to lead them. And for the Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces, should look at General Tonje. When General Tonje served, I'm sure he was already serving in the military. Look at the example that General Tonje set. He was Moi's tribesman. He had everything to die with, to perpetuate Moi's excesses. But he decided not to do that. He decided to say he was a professional man who will live a professional army. So this man should hold his hands. And even listening to him talking, he's a guy who cannot even engage politically because he panics. You even wonder what kind of commander is this. He was panicking before a microphone. So why do you come to embarrass yourself before the civilians? If you can't handle us, you keep off.
The head of NSIS have crossed the constitutional line and have engaged in politics, then we will engage them politically. I want to tell them that first and foremost, they are the biggest suspects of the abductions which have been going on in this country, and that if there is anyone who is going to be prosecuted at The Hague or at the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity, whereby over 100 people are missing, quite a number are still in hospitals, others are still in morgues, they are the biggest suspects. The police did not get as much involved as them. And therefore, this information is still being processed from the abductees who have been released. Some of them who claimed at some points they felt that they were in military installations and confinements. And therefore, they must come out clearly on their role in politics. I want to tell them there was Moi must go. And even that time, we did not have a new constitution. The new constitution protects, and it's Article 38, Kenyans' political rights, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And the more you deny Kenyans an opportunity to express themselves, the more the matter becomes worse. So I want to say that it is very important that they keep away from politics. We have brought statements to the floor of the House and have not seen the answers as to whereabouts of the chiefs who disappeared in Northeastern. It is the work of the army to have shown their boldness, led by the CDF, to have followed and even crossed the border and brought our chiefs home. They have done nothing. They are busy engaging in politics. Around Rek Turkana, Kenyans were struck there. We did not see them in action. We only saw police and Murkomen there. We want to see the army protecting our territories as it is required by the Constitution. And I want to assure the boss of the army that all sovereign power belongs to people. The president has just been donated a little power by the people. The army has just been donated a little power by the people. And therefore, I want to tell him, the people can defeat the army because the army belongs to the people, and the army are the people. We were very happy when the army was illegally unleashed in the streets to do police work during the riots, while people were exercising their constitutional rights. They were ill-equipped to deal with any riot, and the people were so happy to see the young men and took selfies with them. They were very friendly, and they are the ones who ended the riots because they did not use tear gas or guns. And therefore, Kenyans' rights have been violated, and the least we expected was the army or NSIS to perpetuate it. And therefore, now that they have joined the political league, we want to welcome them. I am going to be presenting more petitions in court and in the Senate so that they can come and tell us and expound on what they were telling Kenyans on this coup they want to unleash to the Kenyan state. That let the politicians do their job and let the army do its job. They are the ones who stated that they were never going to take over government. I want to assure them that if Kenyans, and even in any other jurisdiction in the world, invade and the president runs away, it is the army chief who restores order in the country. And therefore, we must let Kenyans do their thing, express their freedom. Elections happen after every 5 years. It is Ruto himself who has started early campaigns, and therefore it shall be responded to. And if they don't want to hear, Ruto must go. I also want to say, Kalonzo can come. If they don't want to hear that Ruto must go, which is being chanted everywhere, in fact, it is better they should be advising President Ruto to concentrate on delivering his mandate and to concentrate on developing the country, but not campaigning early in rooftops and going to provoke people who don't want to see him. It is better he works from his office and he makes sure that the country is served. That may cool down the temperatures. On the issue of cohesion, cohesion can never be brought by abductions and killing of Kenyans. There's no single day you'll get cohesion on that. Cohesion does not come by making sure there are political impeachments which have no merit in law, and you disfranchise communities, nations which make the Kenyan state, segregating people and isolating people politically. That will never bring cohesion. Therefore, Kenyans need to watch this out, and Kenyans need to know that they are free to express themselves in our constitution.
We have a situation whereby there's a creeping coup by the chief of intelligence and the military, trying to narrow the civilian space, trying to run this country by what we would call martial law. That's why how we don't have this kind of freedom that we are enjoying. And that's why I would say that, I just say that if they are saying that Ruto must go is anathema to their mindset, then we would invite the people to say OMTATAH must come. But that's not the issue. The issue is that freedom of expression will not be enjoyed at the pleasure of the military, at the pleasure of the police, at the pleasure of the NIS. It will be enjoyed by the people of Kenya because they are sovereign and have given themselves a constitution and defined the boundaries within which that freedom will be exercised, and that those boundaries are not open, neither are they dependent on the whims of any individuals, not the head of state, not the head of the military, not the head of police, not the head of intelligence. Those boundaries are clearly spelled out in law. And so we are here to condemn it and to demand that this guy goes back to the barracks and obeys the manners of the barracks. The manners of the barracks are not the manners of the civilians. Our manners are totally different. The manners of the barracks are different. That's why the people don't ask questions. Out here, people ask questions. And if he thinks that he wants to come and engage in answering those questions, then he should resign his command, leave the very sanctified office of the CDF, and come and soil himself out here alone, not to try and soil the office of a military. Kenya's military has got a very, very stellar picture. Kenya's military is one of the best in the world in terms of distancing itself from politics. So we don't understand why a man should just come up from nowhere and begin yapping and prattling around with things that are intelligible things, unintelligible things, thinking that he's trying to pronounce policy. He has no capacity to make any policy. If he wants to participate in making policy and the law, let him come and join parliament. Or he resigns his command from the military and joins Mr. Ruto. He appoints him like as a cabinet secretary. But to come and begin doing what he's trying to do for me is not acceptable. It's a no-go area, and he's dancing on a slippery slope. And the least he can do from what he has done is just to resign his command and fall on his sword, if he's a man enough.
We bring in a request for statement for the military chief and the and the NSIS boss to come and expound on what they meant that the Constitution of Kenya and the freedoms it has guaranteed have been curtailed by their officers.